With the Gray Zone Warfare Content Creator Week coming to a close, I just wanted to share some of my thoughts on the game. So, here are the things that I liked, the things I did not like, and here's the things I'm hoping for in the future. Here are the things that I really enjoyed about this game. A has got to be the map. It is absolutely beautiful, well done. You can tell that there was a lot of thought and effort going into this game. And with the entire structure of how this map is laid out, it's really, really interesting because we have this big focal point in the middle, ground zero, that we can't really go to yet. So it'll be interesting to see what is applied there in the future. The next thing that I really loved about this game was the VoIP interactions. Having VoIP, and this may have just been because it was a content creator week, made some of the most entertaining things that could happen. It's like being on DayZ. It just the VoIP can add such a level and dynamic to any gameplay that you just love to see how it unfolds. And this game was no different. I loved every single moment of VoIPing with my teammates, with the enemy teams during fights. Like it was just so much fun. VoIP is always a good time, and they did a really good job about the implementation in this game. And that leads me into the next thing that I really enjoyed about this game was just the gunplay. The gunplay in this game felt really good, especially when you're using something like an M4 and you're, burst firing it or fully autoing it. There just didn't seem to be like a crazy amount of recoil. It felt very realistic if you've ever fired one of those weapons, and it just seemed really well thought out, like really well put together. And I loved every moment of the gunfights that we ended up with, whether it was against the whether it was PvP or PvE. It was just fantastic all the way around. And the other thing that I really enjoyed about this was how easy it was, as somebody who has come from Tarkov, to gear up my character. I mean, a lot of people will say that, well, this is a Tarkov clone. Well, I mean, technically, every game is like this. Tarkov technically cloned it from Diablo, who technically cloned it from Baldur's Gate, who technically did it from, you know what I mean? We could go back and back to whoever the first original ones that did this was. But with this kind of game and with this format, it's very hard to get away from that. And I think that this game has done a really great job about implementing a lot of the gear. And the world just feels amazing with said gear in it. Now, let's talk about the things that I disliked in this game. Now, a lot of the things that I disliked are probably going to be points that are going to be addressed, or things that were just there as placeholders, because it was an early alpha. The biggest one, and I think this is what a lot of content creators will agree with me on, was the LZ system. The landing zones and the fast travel transportation from location to location made it very exploitable by enemy teams. And you would end up getting into fights there where, as soon as you got off of the helicopter, you were dead. And that doesn't make for fun or engaging gameplay at all. And then we had instances where I would like call for an extraction. I'm waiting for my helicopter to come for my extraction. An enemy helicopter lands 10, 20 seconds before my helicopter. And it's like, well, I have to shoot these people because my helicopter is coming in and they're all going to be looking at me running to my helicopter to leave. And you just were forced to make these decisions that weren't very good. Really disliked that. I do know that supposedly the devs have some ideas about how they're going to change that, so I'm excited to see that implementation. The next thing that I would have to say is the AI is a little too aimbody. They have a tendency to be able to see you through any surface, or if they have an idea of where you were at, they will continue to shoot at that location. So if you've moved behind a wall, they'll shoot at the wall, shoot at you behind the wall and try to pin you through that wall, even though it's not possible. So they don't really break their line of contact super well. And like I said, a lot of this stuff that I'm talking about are things that I disliked in the alpha, but I have no doubt in my mind is going to be addressed by the team going into future updates. Now, I know that I said I enjoyed the quest in the previous part, because I did. I really enjoyed the quests. I think that they're fun. I think they take you around the map in a really well and unique way. My biggest problem with it is the lack of direction it's in the quest, or the lack of the way that the quests were worded a lot of times was very confusing. So you spent a lot of time just wandering around and meandering, trying to figure these things out. Now, as somebody who has played Tarkov, and Tarkov is no exception to this, they have the exact same issues. I was very used to just being able to find it out, like figure it out over time. Doesn't mean I think it's a good. I don't think it is. I think the quest system needs to be a little bit more refined and a little bit simpler. And I think that they need to do a better job about like how the quests are worded. And then that leads me into the next thing that I very much disliked in this game was the menu system. The menu system felt very clunky. Trying to navigate to messages or collect rewards or go to your inventory or go to the quest, like everything felt very awkward. Like the menu system did not feel very intuitive. It felt very like forced, and I feel like the menu system needs a little bit of a rework because trying to find information or trying to get to messages or trying to collect rewards or moving stuff in your inventory just felt bad. It didn't feel great. Um, and on note, I'll add this to the menu system is the map system a little bit. Like we have a map that we can bring up and it will like show you where people are around, but I was like, well, why not just have this up all the time? Like if you're giving me this mini map, why not just let me resize it so if I want it up all the time, I can bring it up all the time and it won't be in the way. So that's one thing that like kind of annoyed me about the menus also was the way that the map interacted with the menus. And then my last thing that I really disliked about this game was the loot tiers. And now let me explain what I mean by that. The problem that I ran into was at no point when going to these higher tier areas did I ever feel like the gear that I was getting from the AI was better than the gear that I could just buy. So every single gun, besides a couple of boss guns that you pick up off of the AI, just always felt way worse in every way than the stuff that I could buy. And it was never, I never felt a point to go loot gear ever. Like there was never like I got so much money from doing the quest. I never ran out of money or was afraid of running out of money. It was like, well, I died, I'll just gear back up. It's not really costing me anything. So none of the gear that I got from AIs ever felt significant enough compared to the things that I was getting or I could buy from the vendors. And I always feel like there needs to be those locations that are more difficult that do have a much higher chance of dropping better gear that you can experience before you get the traders to those higher levels. And by no means do the things that I dislike would deter me from this game because I loved playing this game. Every single moment I was on this game was an absolute blast, and I cannot wait to continue to play it and see what this dev team does. I have no doubt in my mind that the team over there is going to be listening to the feedback and addressing a lot of this in future updates of the playtest. Now, here are some of the things that I would personally like to see in the game going forward. Now, I know I said earlier that I loved the map. I do. I think the map is beautiful. I think it is a great setting for a game. I think they've done an amazing job with it. One of my things is I would like to see the map feel a little more alive. And what I mean by that is there are huge sections of the map that are just empty. There's nothing there. And you're just walking to go to different LZs to get the fast travel points so you can skip all of this stuff. And with a giant map like this, you just have a lot of dead space. And once you get a new landing zone, you never experience or go through those areas again because you don't need to. So I would really like to see maybe more like roaming gangs or other things that are traveling around on the map to make it interesting to go to those locations. There's one side of the map that I never went to because it was just so far off on the left-hand side that I was like, why do I need to go over there? So I would really like to see some other things done with the map and some other locations or some like roaming faction quests or something where you need to travel to see if you can find these things. The next thing that I really would have liked to seen, and this is kind of on the same, is, and I believe that they said they may be doing this, is a little bit more nature to make the map feel more alive in this sense, is maybe like animals or snakes or something else besides just the ambient audio. Because the ambient audio is nice, but the world does feel very dead in a lot of these situations. And like I said, a lot of the things that I am talking about, they are more than likely already addressing and they're probably already looking into. But this was just some of my early thoughts after playing this game for an entire week that I would like to see, that I loved, that I disliked, and that I hope for in the future. Guys, if you have any questions or anything, leave comments down below. If you watched a lot of it, let me know what your thoughts are. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. All right. Bye, everybody.